It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode, Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
He's from Barcelona.
Okay.
Okay. And Liz Newman.
I don't know. I feel like I should bust out with Yo Quiero Taco Bell or something. Hello.
We're doomed.
Why is it always got to be about chihuahuas with you?
You know. You are the company you keep.
You're lizard. How are you guys doing?
I was just about as giddy as ever.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. What's been going on in your part of the galaxy?
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to share, but
Thank goodness.
well, I said but.
Right. Oh, I heard.
I think last week I was talking about watching Doctor Strange. It was on TV, and it's kind of one of those things that I love the Doctor Strange movies. I have not seen the newest one yet, so I guess I should say I just love the one that they've put out. The freaking visuals, I mean, amazing. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I want to see the new Doctor Strange, but I had heard that the new Spider-Man kind of set up the background for the new one. So it was like, I got to thinking, and I don't think I've seen any of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think I've seen bits and pieces, and I think after watching them, because that's what I wound up doing, I think after watching all of them, that's probably what happened. I've seen bits and pieces of enough of all of them to where I thought I had seen them, but I had not seen them. So I started at the beginning because I've already seen all the Avengers stuff and everything else that he crossed over into. So the first Spider-Man, I believe, is Homecoming. And I liked that one. It kind of sets you up with, how he's getting his footing and everything else. And then, of course, the second one is No Way Home. And the second one, for me, was kind of emotional because in this one, we kind of see him dealing with the after effect of losing Tony and pretty much what he meant to him and how much he helped him and everything else. And, I'm glad I watched Endgame because, they didn't really go into what he did, but that it happened, which I thought was good because that kind of gave Spider-Man his own way of being, it's his story, not the continuation of Tony's story, So I thought that was pretty good. And I loved Mysterio. I really wish he wouldn't have been a bad guy. I wish he would have been good, because some of the shit he pulled off was pretty amazing,
Spectacular, one might say.
Yeah. So then, of course, in the end of the third one, spoiler alert, I don't know if you guys want to hear this or not, but it is, I won't completely spoil it, but a person, before they die, exposes Spider-Man as, hey, this guy's Peter Parker, And of course you have Jonah Jameson, bring me Spider-Man, and he's public enemy, and totally, of course, made things worse for Spider-Man in Far From Home. Wait, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, Far From Home. And to the point, it was like, he's a dick. Can just like an extra missile take him out or something? Shut him up for a minute. But it is kind of cool when people are like, why don't you tell people who you are? This kind of shows you why you don't tell people who you are, He lost a lot because of what, when people found out. I won't say what he lost was completely because people knew who he was, but from him trying to fix people knowing who he was. But anyways, they do get into Doctor Strange in this one, and I absolutely loved every minute of the movie that he was in. Him and Spider-Man have a fight, and of course it's done in the other dimension. And to me, like I said, once again, we're in the visuals here. That was amazing. I thought it was cute. How he's like, I just had a fight with Doctor Strange and I won. It was cute because it was a surprise element that gave him the upper hand. But ending of this, I don't know if they've talked about a Spider-Man 4. I don't know if that's in the works for them or if they've decided to move forward with, the multi-dimension. But I loved the way they handled that in this movie. I think if you have kind of what we was talking about pre-show in Marvel movies, if you have never, ever read a comic book before in your whole entire life and your knowledge is based on comic book movies, Spider-Man gives you a good, simple, I almost want to say layman terms of what the multiverse is and how it works and what can happen. And, it wasn't this big, long explanation or anything else, but they let you really see what's happening, Doctor Strange in one of them, I'm wanting to say it was Endgame. No, it wasn't Endgame. Where's the one where Thanos snapped and they all disappeared for 5 years?
Infinity War.
Infinity Wars. He kind of touches on that and why you didn't mess with the timeline, but it really wasn't. He didn't have time to explain, So with Spider-Man, you kind of get that expanded. Now, if you were a fan of WandaVision, the second cutscene, all of the Spider-Mans have had 2 cutscenes, but in the second cutscene, it does bring her in, and no, it's the first one, because the second cutscene in Far From Home, it's kind of like the trailer for Strange. Yeah, Strange too. But it made so much more sense. Now, I have a wonderful blocker on my computer, and when movies come out, since I'm such an introvert and I know I won't see them at the movie theaters, I wind up blocking them. So I don't see anything about it. I don't see any spoilers, unless they're idiots and spell it wrong. I really don't see a lot about the movie. And Doctor Strange is one of those that I don't know what the movie's about yet. I've heard some people like it and some people don't. If what I'm gathering from this cutscene, I'm wanting to see Scarlet Witch in almost like a House of M kind of situation, where she just totally loses her shit on everybody. They drove her crazy, and she loses her shit, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to see in Doctor Strange 2. I think that I don't know how to say this without pissing somebody off. I think being a man, he didn't understand what he was coming into with Wanda. with what she had just went through, that she lost 2 babies that she thought she had. She lost the love of her life. She enslaved a whole town because she was grieving so hard and couldn't let go. I don't think he realized the mental state that he's walking in on Wanda in. And I think that is going to really backfire and blow up in his face. And if I'm wrong, they didn't make the right movie.
Ouch.
That's what they should have did. And you know, you kind of got to put yourself in Wanda's position. After everything you've just went through, you're pretty much in exile. Now, here comes some dude in a fucking cape and you want me to help you? Where were you when I needed help?
Right.
Where were
Just because
you
have
when
weird
I was
fashion
grieving?
choices doesn't mean that I should help you.
Right, you know. And where were the Avengers when I needed help? So it's kind of, I could see this going the wrong way for him because he's not known for making things better for people. You know? Just the whole case of Spider-Man, that whole thing kind of blew up in Spider-Man's face because of what Doctor Strange did wrong, you know. So, which could go both ways, you know, he was agitating him and everything else. But as Far From Home goes, I loved the way they handled the other 2 Spider-Mans, which then made me realize that I have not seen any of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I guess that's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely cheered when Toby came on the screen. I don't know why, but like when he came on the screen was like seeing Steve from Blue's Clues again. I don't know why. It was just kind of one of those, oh, he's back.
That is an interesting parallel, but yeah.
Yeah. He left us, now he's back, you know. So and out of the 3, it was kind of neat to see Toby as the sensible one of, hey, you don't want to go down this path because I've been here, you know. I lost my Ben, you know, and I lost my May, and so it was kind of nice to see them 3 working with together. But like I said, Toby came in and the whole show was stole. He was it. You know? And I would be curious. I know that Into the Spider-Verse is like animated, but it would be nice to bring these 3 guys back together and let them do something like that again. It was really nice. You know, it was cool. They didn't step on each other's toes. Of course, they had to learn how to work with each other because they're used to being it, you know. So that was kind of cool. But it's like anything you could think of, well, they'd have a problem doing this. They addressed that. So it was kind of, it was pretty cool. I liked the way they did this.
See, and that attitude is why comic companies keep going back to this multiverse concept every few years.
Yeah.
Because suckers like you will keep buying those books.
Well, I think, like, for me, kind of, you know, with the parallels that I drew, for me it was the nostalgia. Toby was my Spider-Man. That's, you know, that was my Spider-Man. Just like Chris Evans will always be my Captain America, and Tony Stark will, you know, it's that time. Now, the next ones that come out, you know, the next kids can have them because that won't be my Spider-Man. You know? But Tom Holland is not a bad actor. I kind of want to watch Uncharted and stuff now because he's not a bad little actor.
Well, let's not get crazy going straight into a video game movie either. Right.
Well, I've played a little of Uncharted, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I liked it. I could definitely see why it did really well at the box office. Major spoilers, so tune out now if you don't want to hear it. But what blew my mind,
Good night, everybody.
is Doc Ock being a good guy in this. It was kind of like, wait, what? You know, he's bad. He's always been bad, you know. And that was what was kind of cool is, Bug, shut up.
Bug doesn't like Doc Ock.
she don't. She's like, screw Spider-Man. She likes Batman. That was pretty cool about this show is because we got to see all of the past villains from all of the other Spider-Mans, and we got to see what made them the way that they were. And like in this one, Tom Holland is trying to fix them because he realizes if I send you back to your time, you're just going to die, you know. But if I send you back to your time and you're a good guy, you know, I'm giving you a second chance. So that's kind of what he wanted to do. And like I said, it's kind of cool because we got to see them a little bit more up close and personal. And, you know, like the lizard guy, Dr. Kane or whatever his name was. It was Connors. It was funny, you know, with, you know, we got to see a little bit a different side of them. But as soon as the Green Goblin came on, that's what I told Brandon. I said, this isn't going to be good. You know, he's the one who wants to change. And it's like, no, he doesn't. He's lying. I won't tell you if he did or not, but yeah. You just learned this one. Don't trust nobody. Because even the one who started out being their friend was not their friend at the end. So, but if there is a Spider-Man 4, I think they have set it up now to where you don't have to worry about them getting the basics out of the way. And what I consider basics for Spider-Man is Uncle Ben, Aunt May, and MJ. And they successfully get all of those out of the way. So now the next story we get will be Spider-Man. He's already done, you know, it's kind of like we've seen the death of Batman's parents. Now we get to see Batman. So I think the fourth one now, we will see a Spider-Man who's standing on his own 2 feet. He no longer has that support system behind him like he did before with Tony Stark and MJ and Aunt May and all of that. That's all gone. So I'm excited to see where it takes them, you know. So, and like I said, I liked that it dealt with why don't superheroes tell who they are, you know. I think I've only seen one superhero successfully pull that off, and that was Stark. And it was basically because he didn't fucking care who knew who he was. You know, he had enough guns and bombs around his house to protect, you know, Pepperpot, the person he cared about, or, you know, whatever her name is. So, you know, he didn't sweat it. He didn't have a lot to lose. His family was already gone. You know, how are you going to come at me? Where I live? Come on. This is my playground.
That's armed to the teeth, so do your best. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
I seem to remember they did a pretty good job in Iron Man 3, but hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the house fought back some, too.
Yeah.
True.
They did. And he came back harder. And
Eventually.
other than his house, he didn't lose anything. You know, I think in this one, what was cool with Spider-Man, not only did he lose his support system, there for a minute, he kind of lost who he was. You know, you're not a hero. You're a villain and you're trash and everybody hates you. Kind of like what they did with Superman. You know, I was glad we got to see that side of it of, what the hell? You're tearing up our town, you know, and you claim to be a hero. So part of it you want to agree with Jonah, and the other half of the movie you're like, please shut up. Shut him up. And it was kind of cool because once things are kind of fixed, we see Jonah again, and it's still, Spider-Man's bad, blah, blah, blah. So what I took away from that, it doesn't matter who Spider-Man is, how good he is, how bad he is, Jonah's always going to have it out for him. You know? He's always going to spin the story that he wants to, and it's never going to be favorable for him. Yeah, that's it. that's all I did.
That's your nutshell, huh?
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it.
What, a coconut?
I do tend to enjoy Marvel movies better just because I don't know a lot of the backstory or if he's hopping on one leg wrong. I mean, I'm not as nitpicky. So I'm sure some fans could come along and tell me why it sucked, but I liked it. I did not like it better than the Batman though. So there's that. But I did like it. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, Mikey, follow that.
Oh God, I got nothing anywhere close to that exciting. I do have. I'm actually going to take a page from Les's book lately. I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called Terry Talks Movies. And this guy, he is, part of me wants to call him an older guy, but he's really probably not that much older than we are. So I feel weird calling him an older guy, but he's a guy, he's a big movie fan. He's from Australia, and he tends to focus mostly on movies that, I mean, I'm no scholar, but movies that I've never heard of. And he pulls them from all over the place. He's pulling stuff from the U.S. He's pulling stuff. There's stuff from Australia, stuff from the U.K., stuff from all over the world. And he doesn't necessarily have a focus in terms of genre. He watches horror movies, he watches dramas, he watches sci-fi, he watches whatever. And then he comes on and does a 20, 30-minute video talking about, a movie, 2 movies, 3 movies, whatever he's got. I mean, I've seen him do a video of as many as 6 movies at a time. And he's got some really interesting insights into some of these things. And he likes like I said, the slightly off-kilter movies, the movies that weren't hugely popular at the time when they came out. He tends to prefer older stuff, so he and I have that in common, so that helps. But yeah, he has some really interesting discussion stuff about these movies that, I mean, a lot of them I would never have heard of before. And the ones I have heard of, I mean, I'm like, yeah, following along going, yeah, I like that part too. And yeah, oh no, I don't know if I agree with you on that one, that sort of thing. But I mean, he does it really well. And they're a lot of fun to watch. So I recommend checking it out.
And what is it called again?
It's called Terry Talks Movies.
Terry Talks.
I'll stick a link in the show notes.
Show notes. Yeah.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yes, I'll have to check him out.
Okay. Les?
Well, a couple things. I attended a signing this past weekend down in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
The person is Paul Mann, M-A-N-N. He is an artist. He has done several drawings for movies, which is very interesting. If you saw the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he was the artist of the posters for the for the main actor, and that was, or the movie actor in this, and that was
that guy.
Yeah. Well, Brad Pitt was his accomplice.
DiCaprio,
Thank you.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
What's his face?
What's his face? Whoshisnose.
Mm-hmm.
But Mann did the posters that are on the walls of movies that DiCaprio's character was in. Man was in a small, and he had around 110, 120 people there. When you went to see him, you were ushered in like 10 people at a time. He had prints for sale. He had originals for sale. And I was really interested in a lot of his work. So I got to watch him there. He didn't do much. I took a book. I found a copy of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that he did. They printed a lot of the prints he did for that movie. And if you get a chance to see that, that is a fun movie. Quentin Tarantino. But this was a little bit different for him even. So I got to do that, and I was really happy with it. The other thing I did was on YouTube, I found a site, a man who does tales about like comic books, and he talks about the Archie heroes, superheroes, and Atlas, and talks a little about Marvel and DC, but he mainly stays with the small brands of characters. So if you get a chance, they're only about, I think the longest one I saw was 18 to 20 minutes. And they're just a fun thing to sit and watch and learn about. And then sit back and go, I've got to find more of this. It'll pique your interest and get you to go. So if you get a chance, watch Fizz Fop on YouTube.
Fizz Fop.
Fizz Fop.
Oh, what a relief it is.
Wow.
Nice.
I set myself up for that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Kinda. She didn't really show much restraint in trying not to, but still.
No. Yeah.
I had to sing it while I was tapping it.
No, you didn't.
Had
But
to,
okay.
right.
I had to.
I don't know about that.
Okay. For me, not a whole heck of a lot. I did check out the special on Tubi. It was just recently added, titled "Scariest Monsters in America," and it's about an hour and a half show. It was labeled as a documentary, so I was actually expected to be more of a documentary, but it really wasn't. And that, I'm not saying that to be negative or anything. I was just kind of surprised about how it was handled. But it was kind of a cool show. It has a top. It's like a list of 10 creatures or stories of creatures across America. And I've got the list here. I wrote it down. Going from 10 to 1. So a little bit of spoilers, but this may actually make you interested in seeing it. Number 10 was Chupacabra. Number 9 was Black-Eyed Children, and supposedly this is all in Vermont, although they talk about other places across the country. These are literally children who have blackened eyes and want to ask for permission to come into your house but they're more like spectral entities, that kind of thing. This one I've never heard of before, and maybe someone else in the group has, because it's called the Oklahoma octopus. Have you heard stories about this, Les?
I've heard of it, and not much about it though.
Okay. I had never until watching this thing, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this. This is from Louisiana, Rougarou. Y'all heard of them?
Isn't Rougarou like a werewolf?
It's very similar to a werewolf. Yes.
I heard
kind
of it.
Yeah, it was kind of
Sounds familiar.
interesting. Yeah. The next one everybody's heard of, the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 was the Bell Witch of Tennessee, which I've heard bits and pieces, but not a whole heck of a lot. Number 4 was the Mothman.
From New Jersey.
Well, they were saying West Virginia, but it seemed like it was around Jersey as well, but I don't know. So, number 3 was, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yeah. That was one I was not familiar with.
There's a movie not too long ago.
She's the Lady of the Lake, Spanish style.
In a way, but the thing is they talk about her looking for her children, the children that she drowned. That's not something I've not heard that part of that story. The stories I've heard of with the lady of the Lady in the Lake in white is someone driving by and hears this woman who's wet and said, "Hey, there was an accident." Gets in, and then all of a sudden she disappears. And but the car seat's wet. I've heard different versions of that, but this whole thing of originally she was like a mistress, and he didn't want to leave his wife to be with her, and she had kids, so she drowned them. And then she eventually killed herself, and that kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting. Number 2 was Wendigo. And what do you think number 1 was? Since you probably can sense a little bit of a trend here.
Sasquatch.
Bigfoot.
Oh.
Well.
Gotta be Bigfoot.
Right. Like I said, it's kind of an interesting.
Related to Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And Schlock, right?
What do you think, Les?
I'm sorry, I said Sasquatch.
Yeah.
No, we were saying it is
Schlock.
Schlock.
Schlock?
Yeah.
Similar to him.
Wasn't he a Sasquatch? Yeah.
Had to be Schlock.
Mm-hmm.
Schlockthropus, yes.
But it was an interesting little special, kind of hearing some of the stories. Some, like I said, some of them I've heard before, but there were some that had some details I was not familiar with. So recently added to Tubi, so definitely go check it out.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could also find most of those, if not all of them, in their own documentaries in various places too. So
right,
yeah,
be a good primer to figure out which ones you want to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, you talk about it being labeled as a documentary. Last time I checked, if it makes you feel any better, Amazon Prime has added a chunk, if not all, of George Carlin's old HBO specials, and they are categorized as documentary, which I think is more than a little disturbing, but they're also worth checking out, though I do not think they are documentaries yet.
But there's a lot of truth there. So I mean,
well, I think that's kind of the scary part, but yeah.
yeah. Maybe that's where where the algorithm went. Well,
maybe
he's talking about a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth in what he's saying, so maybe these are documentaries. I don't know.
Maybe we now have some evidence that at least somebody at Amazon has a sense of humor.
Yeah. It's like, what is that film? I keep saying that it's now a documentary.
Idiocracy?
Yes, thank you.
Mm.
That's now a documentary. So, we won't go any further than that, but
Let's just say that the first 5 minutes of that movie makes a really interesting point. The rest of the movie is okay. The first 5 minutes is a little chilling in its own way. But anyway, talk about tangents.
It's all right. Hey, we're always doing that. Okay, before we get into this week's discussion, I do want to remind everybody that we do have a Discord. It's been going for 2 years now. We post a lot of news items, memes, videos, trailers, have a lot of discussions about what's going on, that kind of thing. So, if you'd like to hang out with us when we're not doing the podcast, you're more than welcome to come join us. Sign up for Discord. It's free. The app is free at any app store. We do have an open invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and just look for the come join us, come join our Discord little image. Just click on that, and you're in. Do have some fun activities on Discord. We'll do a movie night every once in a while, or something along those lines. So it's been fun. So come join us if you want.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yes.
All right, let's get into this week's discussion. It had not dawned on. I know I did it on purpose, but I had forgotten because I had set some of this up. When I do the scheduling, I've done it so far out that I had there's things like this that I forget. But 30 years ago to the day was the final episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson.
Yay!
Seems like a long time ago, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And then sometimes it doesn't seem that long.
It's certainly an end of an era, and because he did the show for 30 years, and I mean, he had the nickname the King of the Late Night TV Show, and it well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody competed with that show. Nobody.
No.
Nope.
Well, or if they tried, they certainly failed.
Didn't last long.
Because
Right.
because there was a lot of them. I was thinking about that, kind of preparing for this episode, kind of going over things in my mind. A lot of his former guest hosts, when he was out, tried and failed miserably.
Yeah.
But,
and who did Jimmy Fallon take over for him?
Jay Leno.
No, it was Jay Leno. Yeah.
Okay, and Jimmy Fallon took over for Jay Leno.
Yes. Several years later.
Yeah, because he's
Leno had a pretty good run too.
Yeah, he did.
Twice.
Yeah, I seem to remember that
he
Leno
went
came
away.
back again. Yeah, he left, and then they brought him back. But I can't. I don't know. And then now it's Fallon. So
Because they had Conan in there for a while.
that's true. That's right.
I didn't like Conan. He's the red-haired guy, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't like him?
No, not no.
Wow.
He was. He looked like a little troll, and then he always did this little screwy thing with his face when he talked. It's just.
Do you know
Weasel.
how tall he is?
No.
You may not want to call him small.
Okay. Hopefully he's like 6 foot, because I called him a troll. So if he's like 4'11" or something, I'll feel really bad.
No, he's like 6'5" or 6'6".
Okay. It's like, yeah, not hating on the height. Lord knows I'm only like 5 foot myself.
5 foot nutting over here talking about people being trolls.
He just, to me, Conan wasn't funny. He tried too hard to be funny that he just wasn't funny. He was more annoying than funny.
Isn't he still on TV?
No.
I thought he went over to like HBO or something.
He went over
on-
to either TBS or TNT.
Yeah, one of those.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I
For
think
quite
he's been
some
off-
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He may have been off for a little while now, but shows you how much I
think-
watch TV. Shit.
I think he's kind of one of those guys that if you like him, you'll really like him, and if you don't, you really just don't. You know, there's no, he's all right kind of thing. You know, I don't know. I say that for me.
I was about to say, I thought he was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't think he was great, but I didn't think.
Yeah,
So. Yeah.
definitely wasn't no Carson.
I don't think anybody was Carson except for Carson.
Never. Yeah. I watched actually for his farewell special they had 2 episodes. They had a farewell special where like Bette Midler, Robin Williams, I can't even remember all the stars that came to say goodbye. And I loved that his last show he did it the way he always did it. He came out and he sat down on his stool and he perched up there and he talked to people, you know, and it wasn't, I'm not going to do a grand shebang because I'm going to let 30 years of my life speak for itself, you know, and that to me was classic, that you couldn't have done any better, you know.
I mean, that's him. That's
Right.
the boy from Nebraska. Yeah.
I do wish though, when he was kind of going over, you know, I know they didn't even touch on his skits because he's, you know, he flat out said he didn't want to do that for this show. But the one thing that always comes to my mind when I think Johnny Carson is when Jack Hanna used to come on his show all the time. You knew there was going to be some weird shit going on with Carson and some kind of animal they were going to trudge out there for him to see again. And now I was young. I don't remember another person, you know, bringing that much awareness to exotic animals at the time. You know, me being an animal lover, that is one thing that definitely stuck out to me was his love for animals, and he just didn't want you to see the basic ones. He wanted to bring in the most exotic shit that you would not see anywhere else had he have not brought it on the TV show. Which that in conservation work, you have to have people see it to be affected by it. You know, we all know that, you know, the monkeys need help and blah, 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 blah. But until you actually see one and connect with it, it's like you don't fully understand that. It finally puts a face to the, you know, the cause. So of course I had to mention that because in my lifetime, he was probably one of the first ones I saw that would actually, you know, here, let me pet that thing.
It's
Keep
hard.
that shit away from me.
It's hard not to joke about it because there were times when the look on his face was not, "Oh, I love animals."
Yeah.
It was fear.
Yeah.
But
Mount that thing on my wall.
but that said, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
There was a lot of an awareness thing there, for sure.
Yeah.
It
And
made a
then
difference.
in the episode where he's, you know, he's reliving all of this stuff, the time period, I mean, think about that for a minute. 62 to 92.
Mm-hmm.
All of the changes that happened, not in the world, we'll knock it down a little bit, just in Hollywood, all of the changes that happened. He went from the golden age crooners of Fred Astaire and God, all their names just flew out of my head. Tony
Sinatra.
Sinatra had all of those people on to the very end of ZZ Top and Tina Turner, and I mean the amount of the golden age of acting, all of the actors he had on there and everything else. Of course, I liked to have cried when Lucy popped up on the screen. You know, she loved his show. It was like, wow, you know, how many people did he, you know, and once again, nowadays with social media and everything else, people are like, oh, big woo, he talked to John Wayne. We didn't get that. We didn't, unless you were reading like Page 6, you know, in maybe a weekly publication, you didn't get in touch with all of the stars and stuff. So it was really cool for him to actually sit down and not be, tell us about your movie. It was like, hey, tell us who you screwed at breakfast last week. It was the nitty gritty of things people wanted to know about these people who were Hollywood elite. And he sat and easily talked to these people, and some of these people were more in awe with him than he was of them, you know. It takes a special person to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But not only to be one of them, but to appear not to be one of them, you know?
He could handle having a conversation and making the guests feel comfortable, whether they are heads of state or a 6-year-old kid.
Yep.
He did the full gamut, and it just seemed like it was natural for him.
Yeah.
He was able to relate to them and talk to them, and you know, you could tell that they're not uncomfortable or anything like that. So, you know, that's a gift.
Well, it was kind of like a conversation between the two of them, not in front of an audience like he had. It was just two friends sitting down and talking, you know? I'm not above you or beneath you. We're friends and we're talking, you know? Which nowadays, too many talk shows, it's an interview that they do with these people. And it gets kind of, you know, I don't care what they're playing in, you know. But he definitely, there has not been one like him since. And he was always if I was sick and stayed up late, that's what was on the TV. Because, of course, you had to stay up late to watch Carson.
Yep. Or you got to.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. And it was a treat.
It was a treat.
When you were a kid, because kids don't always get to do that.
No.
But yeah.
Like I said, the range he had. Nobody could ever accuse him of not being diverse enough.
Yep. He did a lot of things. He did a lot of things before he took over The Tonight Show. He had been around a while.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't familiar with Carson outside of The Tonight Show.
That's because The Tonight Show started before you were born.
Right before, yeah. But even, like, I don't know. Like with Lucy, when I got into Lucy, I found out the other things she was involved with outside of that. But what did he do outside of The Tonight Show?
Well, he started out in radio.
Did he?
Uh-huh. He started out local radio in Nebraska and then moved to L.A. Kept doing it then. Did comedy, did stand-up.
Is a game show host.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I do remember his game shows.
He used to occasionally fill in for somebody in the Rat Pack in Vegas.
That I did not know.
That would be Sinatra and Dean Martin, and
Sammy Davis
Jr. and all of those guys. He would show up
Joey
there.
Bishop.
Uh-huh.
See, for some reason, I had it in my head that he was good friends with Sinatra. Maybe that's why.
Sinatra came on the show many times too.
Yeah.
And that was not something Sinatra did a lot of. So he probably wouldn't have if he hadn't
Had some kind of friendship there.
had a friendly face there waiting for him. But yeah, he did a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And then he broke down also how many presidents he's seen, since doing the Tonight Show. And I thought, that you wouldn't see that today either. He had every single one of them on his show. And nowadays you wouldn't see that. I don't think Rachel Maddow will ever have Trump on her show. So it was just kind of one of those.
I don't think that's the same kind of show
It's
either.
not the same thing. Yeah,
But you know what I'm saying. Usually you have groups of shows where they all stick together, and I think he kind of broke it of, I don't care, I
Right,
just
he
want
didn't
you
want
to
to do
come
that.
talk to me,
A fair comparison would be Jimmy Kimmel. If you want to use that kind of thing,
No.
you would not be on Jimmy Kimmel's show.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more accurate of a comparison. So,
Right,
but
in
yeah,
terms of
you're
modern.
right. Yeah, and yeah, you're right.
And if you're curious, if you want to know more, Liz,
Mm-hmm.
there's a documentary about 10 years ago. It's called Johnny Carson, King of Late Night. I believe it's on Amazon Prime still. And it's a really good kind of biographical look at him. I mean, obviously there's a lot of focus on the Tonight Show, but it talks about his whole life and kind of the way he looks at things. And so I got some interest. I remember, God, I don't know, it's been a few years since I watched it, but I remember getting some interesting insights into kind of the kind of person he was and how much of that came out in the show and that sort of thing. So it was really interesting for that.
I'll have to look that up. I see that was a American Masters
No,
documentary.
No. it is different. Go look it up on Amazon.
Tell Alexa.
I'm afraid if I do, she'll start singing Baby Shark again.
I think in your house that's a real legitimate fear.
Right. But hey, I learned something new tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, several miles away, you can control your Alexa.
Oh, that.
Alexa, stop. Every time I say her name now, she's going to stop.
I pronounce that song.
Stop. Shut up.
Oh, God, I hope that comes through on the recording.
Oh, I'm so too.
Did you hear? She's telling me how to pronounce stop.
That's awesome. See, you learned something else tonight, too, didn't you?
I did.
Stop. Stop.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
At least she's not singing right now, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, sing Baby Shark.
Headphones are good, huh?
Don't you dare start.
Yeah. But Amazon does have a commercial right now that I don't think they thought about all the way through. And in this commercial, they say, like, Alexa, shut up. They say her name, like, 8 different times. And, of course, every time they do, mine goes off and bings. And, it's like, oh, they're not talking to you.
That's why they do it.
Yeah.
Apple's been doing that shit for years with Siri. So
Have
it's
they?
not new. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And now she's added, I can add this to your grocery list if you would like. This is one of our new features. Like, shut up. If I wanted that, I would tell you that. You're here to sing for the grandbaby. Now jump for your dinner.
Alexa, sing.
Right? Sometimes she will sing. And sometimes she'll play the song, Depends.
Depends on DMCA rights and all
Yeah,
that.
right.
It depends on if you're paying $9.99 a month for Amazon Music Unlimited.
I do.
Why am I not surprised?
Bless
Think
your
of how
thoughts.
many people got their start with Carson,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially comedians.
Mm-hmm.
especially comedians. It floors me to think of how many people stepped out on that stage for the first time and are now considered geniuses. And most of them are.
That is way tactfully than I was going to put that, but go ahead.
There were some that were just not that with it. But look how many versions of Carson appeared. Everything from Gary Shandling to Dick Dietrich. Things just cropped up. And everybody was into them. Let's watch Nightstand and see what happens.
Yeah.
And the thing is to listen to some of those comedians when they talk about the Tonight Show, which was the holy grail for them. Because now all of a sudden you're getting visibility that you would never have before. But if they talk about, if he likes you, if he likes what you did and all that, the fact that he will actually call you over to sit down and talk a little bit, that means you made it.
Yep, that was the win right there. That was the slam dunk.
Yep.
I'm glad they showed a clip for the musical Hair,
Yeah.
because after seeing that, I went out and bought that album. It's a good watch. It's definitely not for everybody, but it was one of those that influenced music big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because who had seen a musical done like that?
That's true.
And another thing that this is going to sound stupid, but but the monologue, those nights or those times where the joke just does not work, and then he gives you that glazed look in the camera, and then he pops off a comment that gets everybody rolling. And it's like, that was actually better than the freaking joke he told.
Yeah.
That was written several hours ago.
He knew how to recover.
Yeah.
Oh man, there was nobody like him when it came to bombing.
Yeah.
He was the best bomber ever, I swear. Because how many other people? I mean, you have a group of comedy writers writing jokes for 5 nights a week. They're not all going to be great. Let's just be realistic. But he was the guy who could tell when it wasn't working. And then could, just on sheer personality, turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, some of the bomb nights were some of the funniest nights ever for his monologues.
Yeah.
That's how good this guy was.
Yep.
And that's what you don't get anymore.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that none of whatever training there is for that position, that role, none of that ever teaches anybody how to have a bad night and run with it. I mean, they just keep trying to put the best of the best in there, and whether they're actually really doing that or not, who knows? But they're not necessarily people who know how to improvise the way he did. Yeah. And be able to, like you said, look into the camera and with a look on his face that says to the people watching, yes, I know that was terrible, and I'm sorry. Yes. And then pop off with some comment about it to make it hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again at this point, but I'm trying to present different ways of thinking about it. And I mean, there just wasn't anybody. I don't know of anybody else who can do that.
It's literally a gift.
It is. Good comedians can recover.
I mean, yeah, but even a good comedian can move on and can bail on a bad bit and start a good bit or something. But I think Carson was different in that he made the bad bits good.
Yeah. Because he could laugh at himself, too.
Right. He's up there laughing at himself just as harder than you're laughing at him.
Yeah. Because he thought you'd really find that funny.
About the closest one I can recall is Craig Ferguson. The man could tell a really bad joke, and he would take a few seconds, but he had something to go with it. And yes, it is something that you train for. You don't get taught.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes the world a difference right there.
Right. You basically, the only way you can do that successfully is to go on stage and die.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Quite a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how you end up honing that improv talent thing.
Yeah.
Is you got to do something to save what you've got going, or to make it into something. And yeah, Ferguson was good at that, and still is. I mean, he's still around.
I just wish he had his show back on.
Yeah.
Didn't he quit because he got tired of it?
That I really don't know.
I mean, he was always a little controversial anyway, but I think he ended up just walking away. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is a few years ago. I don't remember really.
Yeah, it's been a day or two.
But yeah.
Yeah, despite being on the show for over 10 years, Craig Ferguson revealed that it was far too overwhelming, saying the hours and filming were too much for him to handle. So he departed.
I think after 10 plus years, he deserves a break, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that just makes Johnny's 30-year run pretty unbelievable. I mean, he took time off too, but I mean, still.
Yeah. He returned to Scotland.
I want to say he even, like, a few months later came out with a comedy special or something. Ferguson, that is.
Well, he had a game show for a while.
Yeah, and then that also. So he's not retired. He's just doing something different now. So
I think you're right.
Probably a little less demanding on him.
Mm-hmm. He's no spring chicken.
Mm-mm. Well, if you think about it, a late night talk show, Monday through Friday, you'd have to record every day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
you know. So I could see how that could be, you know, if he had kids and a wife and everything else, I could see how that could be demanding, because it's not just record this every week. You've got to come in and practice, dress rehearsals, blocking your stage off, you know, going through the guests. So it's not just a, you know, record this. It's pretty much every day I've got to be here for 12 plus hours, you know.
And a lot of the times they're doing it live.
Yeah.
I mean, Carson almost always did it live.
And then sometimes you're filming on the weekends for the times that you're not going to be there, and you have to have a show, you know. Yeah.
Yep, it's a lot of work for sure.
Mhm.
I got to stay up late at night to do it too. Holy cow!
Yeah.
I have trouble getting to sleep when we do this until 11 o'clock. Shit.
Hmm.
I don't know how he did it.
Especially for 30 years.
Right. I mean, well into his 60s.
And on the final show, he's thanking everyone for being there. He's thanking his wife.
Which one?
At the time, wife.
Right.
And his two sons. And then he called out the third son, who said he couldn't be here tonight. And I don't know, to me it kind of sounded like he threw a little bit of shade before he moved on, you know. I didn't know he had sons, but I didn't, you know. I had to be something pretty bad for him to throw shade to you on his last show.
No, I think that was his brother,
Was it his brother?
Rick.
Yes.
Rick Carson couldn't be there. He had passed away.
Oh. Okay. Well, okay. That makes sense. I take what I said back.
At the very end, as they were running credits, the final thing was Rick Carson. They just had his name up there.
Well, and it makes sense when he says that life gets in the way sometimes.
Yes.
So, and that's the part that I thought was shade. But if the man had passed by that point, it wasn't shade. It was just a...
No, it's more like a tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was sweet then.
I think so too.
Now, where was Carson filmed?
Originally?
Uh-huh. Was it New York? New York?
New York City.
It started in New York. They moved to L.A. Several years in.
So was Carson still alive during 9/11? I know he wouldn't have been his show going on because this ended in 92, but...
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe. I think he passed away in 2005.
Okay.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
2005.
Yes. 2005.
I only asked for one because it's New York, but I know during the time, I think it was Leno that made a very heartfelt speech at the time. So I was just kind of curious maybe what Johnny thought, and, you know, to see your hometown that way. Well, not hometown, but home to him for so long, you know. It's how my ADD brain jumps, okay?
Right, yeah, no, nobody's... no,
He just got quiet. Like,
Someone's getting defensive.
Yeah, no kidding. Gosh. It was a somber moment. Why would we be all snarky about it? Jeez.
But since he went there, never mind. So, did you have a favorite bit that he did? Like the sketches.
I always loved, was it the All Swami?
Karnak?
The
Karnak,
guest,
magnificent.
was it Karnak? Okay.
Yeah, Karnak.
That was always my favorite. He always had something funny. This little snip, and the way he'd tie them together. It kind of reminded me of like Cards of Humanity before there was a Cards of Humanity.
And once again, that goes to the whole thing with the joke failing. Then he turns around and instead of trying to recover, he's basically throwing out an insult to them. But it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's another opportunity for him to recover, and those were great. A lot of times they were better than what he was quote unquote reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Mikey?
Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. He did a lot of stuff.
He did.
Karnak is up there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember names either, but when he would do the infomercial things, those were always just hilarious.
How about you, Les?
I was always partial to Art Vern.
Yeah, same here. The Tea Time Movie.
Yes, and some of those were just so hysterical. The names of the movies were just absurd.
And then the stars.
Yeah.
Like 500 stars in this film. Okay. And then when he would do the commercial part, here's how you get down here, and pulls up this map that's like this. There's no way in hell you can get to anywhere with the highways and all that. It just looks like it's just funny as hell.
Plate of spaghetti or something.
Yep.
But you always had to go to the Slauson cutoff where they had cut off your Slauson.
Yep.
That's called innuendo right there.
Yep. Art Fern and Karnak were right up there. There was who can't remember. Let me look. Oh, Floyd Turbo was the dumb guy who would always do a editorial. And of course, he's wearing the red and black checkered flannel and in the cap and all that.
Yeah.
That was usually pretty good too. It was fun times watching those. I hadn't watched some of those in recently, but I wouldn't mind checking them out again. I know there's several places you can do that and be fun. I know there's a channel where they kind of it looked like they kind of cut them up and just put like 30 minutes or an hour worth of where it's a particular guest. I'm like, I would love to have an hour of just the monologues.
Yeah.
or just the bits. Let's have an hour of Art Fern or an hour of Karnak or something like that. I'm sure they do it, and I just don't know that. But just the monologue is long. I mean, sometimes those were the best things of the show. No offense to whoever was the guest that night, but I know there was a lot of times I might stay up just to watch that. And then once that was done, going to a commercial, I'm turning the TV off because it's almost 11 o'clock. It's time to go to bed.
It's a school night.
It's a school night.
Definitely some of the wittiest stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now it's gone political.
Yes.
Political, and definitely focusing more on, hey, we're selling something. I mean, it was mentioned earlier, you might have a film star come on, and most of the conversation may be just, hey, this is what's been going on recently, or something like that kind of thing. And then they'll come back and, it might go to commercial and then come back, you got a movie that you need to promote. Yeah, here's a clip. And then that's it.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying about Carson, there's not a lot of them that just sit and talk anymore, you know. Ellen used to be, which actually I think Ellen got her start on Carson also. Ellen used to be really good about that, of just talking without, promote your movie kind of thing. But then towards the end, she just got kind of quippy and mean, and it was like she thought it was funny to put her guests down, to where now it's no surprise she's canceled. So, and not canceled culturally, but canceled.
The show was canceled.
The show.
Canceled, yeah. So, and she definitely wasn't 30 years. So it takes a special kind of person that can do that and remain classy about doing it and still make you feel like you're part of a conversation and not part of an ad,
Yeah.
I remember Ellen more for the funniest person in America competition she was in. And she was voted funniest person in America.
Yeah.
And that was on Showtime or something.
Yeah, it was one of the cable channels.
Yeah.
Where they just had comedians doing jokes and competing for the title.
Right, it was just a stand-up comedian competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd seen her stand up on Carson once, and then she did a TV show before she did her talk show. Mm-hmm. And I remember her from the TV show, which made me want to watch her talk show.
Yeah.
Can't remember a TV show that ever made me want to watch somebody's talk show, but anyway,
right.
That's just me. I'm weird that way.
Well, she was funny. And it kind of made you wonder, well, and also with Ellen, during her TV show, it wasn't popular to be gay. You didn't really talk about things like that. And, when she actually came out on her TV show, I mean, it made a lot of people go, say, what? What the hell's going on here? It was very big news. So I think part of me also was kind of curious, where's she going to go from here? Is she going to be able to pick herself up and laugh and go on? Like, the person we knew from the show, because like I said, we didn't really know much about Ellen out of that. And I think when she got her own talk show, it was kind of, here I am,
Yeah.
You tried to knock me down, and here I am. Which I hate. This is going to come out wrong, but it almost made her grateful for the first part of her show. She was, not grateful. It was kind of, you accepted me, and I'm happy for what I have, to you could almost see the shift in her towards the later end. She was no longer grateful for what she had, She had too much and had it for too long. And that's when people's heads swell. So, but like I said, I thought she was pretty strong and fearless, which made it sad later on to the person that she is now,
That hate mail goes to Liz Newman.
Well, no, I
tweets to Liz Newman.
He's just trying to deflect it away from the fake Les Webster account.
That's right.
That's it. I've already got too much.
I say that about Ellen. I let it be known, I was a fan of Ellen's in the beginning. And then, like I said, when she kind of started turning nasty, some of the things that she thought was funny on this show, that's when I fell out of love with Ellen. Not because of the controversy later on, but kind of for that reason, because what got her canceled here lately is her attitude and being mean, so it was the reasons why I quit watching her, but not at the time that everybody else kind of woke up and went, whoa, she's not sweet and lovable.
You had quit her before that.
Way before that, yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but real quick, I'll tell you what made me fall out of love with her. She had her on the show once, and she was giving her a hard time about one of her ex-boyfriends. And, I mean, you could see the discomfort all over Taylor Swift's face. She did not want to be talking about this. Ellen definitely had all of her information wrong, but she wouldn't take no for an answer, and she kept pushing her and thought it was funny and making jokes about it, to where finally Taylor Swift broke down in tears and said, "Can we please stop talking about this?" And that's when Ellen finally was like, "Oh, okay. You missed 1,000 cues of this girl telling you knock it off, and you reduced her to tears on national TV so you could get your joke in." That's when I was done with her. And I don't even like Taylor Swift, so, it was wrong. And of course, once Nikki Tutorials came out with how she was treated on the set, more people came forward, and then staff started coming forward, and it's kind of like, wow. She had a lot of people fooled for a long time. So I'm not saying that because of lifestyle choices or whatever she's done with herself. It's her personality that canceled her for me.
So,
Which,
Johnny
to
Carson.
bring it home, yeah, Carson would have never done that to someone.
Thank you.
Carson did it right for 30 freaking years.
Yeah. I've never really heard any stories of people feeling uncomfortable around him.
You should talk to some of his ex-wives.
Well,
But even that was not necessarily that. But
right. But on the show, you can kind of see the way he was with the ladies, maybe why he'd have some problems with some ex-wives. Just saying.
Oh, he was flirtatious, no doubt about it.
Very,
He
very.
picked on Ed quite a bit too, but I think Ed didn't seem to have a problem with it.
Mm-mm.
So.
Well, if he did, he never showed it.
Right.
Yeah. And Mandela effect. I always thought that Ed McMahon was the guy with the Publishers Clearinghouse.
He was.
He was.
Oh. They said no.
He did that.
He never did that.
Who said that?
They find it. They say it's the Mandela effect, that he never.
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they have an illustration of his face on the envelopes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For a while. For quite a while.
Yeah.
Used to get those in the mail.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to go back and rewatch my Mandela effect. But I'm pretty sure they were like, he never delivered a check, or
Oh, he may not have literally manually delivered a check, but he did ads for them for sure.
Yeah.
See, and I thought so too.
Yeah, the whole showing up at somebody's house thing in the commercials, that's all fake for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, how could they do that before the drawing, Right. That was all an act, but he did do the ads.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. It's because people confuse it. He never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. He was the spokesman for American Family Publishers. So the Publishers Clearinghouse was the ones handing out checks.
Okay. So it was
Probably because they
different
both
thing.
had publishers in them.
Yeah, so it was a different. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I thought I was losing my mind there for a minute. It's like, I just watched this, right? And some of them I refuse to believe. Sinbad was in Shazam. I don't care what anybody says. I watched the movie. I know I watched the movie. I think at this point, Sinbad's just fucking with people because you can't find it. They probably buried it with all of those E.T. arcade games.
Wow. We tried to rein it back in, but
Right. And Carson would agree with me. There you
yeah,
go.
there we go. That's as good as we're gonna get right there.
And probably a terrible way to end this discussion, but I think we're going to end
Doing it
there.
anyway. Yeah.
It can't be saved.
Definitely, if you've not watched The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, definitely take the time to check it out. Or if it's been a long time, you need to go back and check it again. Just realize what we had there. I mean,
Yep. Some of those things are still. I mean, they're still funny today if you can catch them.
mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
There's a channel here locally that shows them from time to time.
I think Pluto has a channel just designed for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So Pluto.
And more than likely, Peacock has some too somewhere.
I'm sure.
Squirreled
I'm
away.
sure.
See, I went to YouTube for the last episode. So if you guys go to YouTube, it's on there also. And the one that's on YouTube is kind of cool because they left the commercials in.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
So if you want to see some commercials from 1992, at first I thought they were skits. It's like, what is he going to do? And then they're like, buy the insurance. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow. That's funny.
He
Clearly
did
somebody
that, though.
ripped that shit off of a VHS tape or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they taped it straight from television
Mm-hmm.
because you had commercials for the station. So
Back when they did
Yep.
that, yeah.
And it's kind of cool because we're doing this at the right time. It's all the Memorial Day weekend sales and stuff too, so it's kind of like, wow.
Yeah, we're about to start getting those in real life, aren't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like I said when we started off, that was 30 years ago to the day
Day.
for
Yeah.
the final episode.
Sergeant Pepper taught the band to play.
Mm-hmm.
That was 20 years, but anyway.
still
And that was-
funny.
It was also
Thanks,
also the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton too. So.
That depends
Yeah.
on which version you get, but yeah.
Mm.
And I bet they were on Carson too.
Probably.
Probably. I think the Bee Gees were in that last episode.
I thought the last episode was just Robin Williams and Bette Midler.
Oh,
There
no.
was that one, and then there was also a retrospective one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last one was the very last one was just him on the stool and just
Yeah.
kind of
Showing clips. And
So it was
stuff.
like pictures that he was showing.
But in that one, he said he wanted to thank Robin Williams and Bette Midler for
Mhm.
being there the night before.
Yeah.
For the farewell, which was more of a performance than a show, if that makes sense.
In both cases, yeah.
Singing, dancing, that kind of thing. And this, he wanted to do more of the show format for it
Right.
instead of a variety show. That's what you'd call it, a variety show. 'Cause they had singing and stand-up and the best of his best at the time, I guess.
All right. On that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You, this segment where we come up with a couple of news items that we bring to the table and discuss. And for this week, it is Liz and myself. And Liz, would you like to go first?
All right. I know with last time that I did this, and it was about Jared's car wreck, this is probably going to be more like Liz's monthly supernatural updates. But we have some exciting news. So, I didn't know that there is a TV show called Big Sky. And it was reported, nobody knew about this, but they're coming up with their finale, and Jensen is going to be on that. And, of course, that's Jensen Ackles, if you guys don't know. Dean Winchester.
So now this show she's never heard of is now her favorite show in the world.
It's now my favorite show.
Oh, of course. Just as it's ending.
Apparently, not only is he doing their finale, he's going to be brought back for season 3 as a regular. So
Dun, dun,
I immediately knew I need to find out what this show is, if it's any good. But double news here. In the process of figuring this out, they just announced another character, another actress that will be joining the show as a regular for season 3, and that is going to be Reba. So,
McIntyre?
Yeah. She's going to come on as a season regular. So, the way that this show is kind of set up, I didn't know if I was going to like it at first, because I think I've mentioned numerous times on this show, to me, rape is not entertaining. It gives me the creeps and it throws me off, and more than likely, I won't finish whatever I'm watching. It's not entertainment, And at the very beginning of this show, it kind of got to where you felt like that's where this is going. And then once it got to that point, you figured out this isn't where that's going. Thank God. So I was able to watch a little bit more of this show. But at the very beginning of the show, there is a truck driver, and he kidnaps a lot lizard. I don't know if you guys, I had truckers in my family. A lot lizard is basically a hooker in a truck yard at a truck stop. He picks up a lot lizard, and he winds up kidnapping her, and then in the process of taking her to wherever he was taking her, there's two teenagers in a car on a road trip, and he cuts them off, kind of a Jeeper Creeper kind of thing. They go off on him, hey, you loser, that kind of thing. Well, then their car breaks down. So he comes along and he kidnaps these two girls too. So I'm thinking, when this is first happening and everything else, this is what the whole first season's going to be about, is these girls, and it kind of is, but I've made it in about 8 episodes into the first season, and I think, I don't know for sure, but I think the way they're setting this up is that, yes, the majority of the first season was about this one case, because they're setting you up for why these two girls are so important. Their relationship, the bad blood, everything that these two people have between them, because I think that they will wind up being like the Sam and Dean of this show. And I think it will eventually get to the point where each case may be maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I'm not for sure about that. But that's the way it's seeming to me. They did wrap this story up kind of quick, They're calling it a mystery. I would not say this is a mystery. To me, when I think of a mystery show, it's kind of like you see something happen, but you don't know who did it, right? To me, the mystery was kind of taken out of this, because you know who the kidnapper is. You know who's helping him. So it's kind of, there's not a lot to figure out, now the other 2 girls have to figure this out, because of course you know more than they do, but it's not really mystery, because you know who did what. I would definitely say it's a drama, not a lot of comedy to it. I can see why Jensen wants to be involved in this. It's kind of like a more official hunter position. You're not hunting demons, you're hunting humans that are demons, kind of thing.
Hunting rabbits.
Yeah. So it should fit right into his wheelhouse. And of course with Reba, this is kind of like a country, mountainy kind of show. I can see her coming in, and just what I've seen so far, her fit really greatly in with these 2 girls, and So if you haven't seen it yet, I'm excited. Like I said, 8 episodes in. One drawback, I will say this. If they drag this story out too much longer, they will lose me. I think that's part. You can't hold an audience better when they know who the killer is. Then they want to come back each week to see, give me another clue. Let me see if I can figure this out, kind of thing. They've given you really nothing to figure out. It's there for you. So I think if you want to call it a mystery, they need to take out we shouldn't have seen who the truck driver was. And I think they didn't wait long enough to reveal who his partner was. And that was a real big, that should have been like season finale kind of thing, who his partner was. So it's pretty good. Like I said, it does kind of drags, but I think they're doing that for a purpose in the first season. I think there's only maybe 12 episodes in the first season. So maybe, but definitely, like I said, I think I'm going to like it. I'm already picturing Jensen in it. But I think this is still an ongoing. I don't think, if you're watching it on TV right now, I don't think he's been on there yet. Because I don't think that episode's on Hulu yet either. So it is an ongoing. You haven't missed it yet. You may by the time the episode drops, but I don't think so. But, yeah. And also, June 3rd, we will see him on The Boys. They have released a trailer for that, and oh my God, my baby's going to be a killer. So, definitely not. I think if people walk into The Boys expecting to see Dean, he's about to rip out a lot of hearts.
Well, he's been a killer before.
We're about to find out if boy can act now.
Yeah. And he has been a killer in Bloody Valentine, but this is more of a psychotic, front lines, down in the grit kind of killer, So me and Brandon watched the trailer together because also the Butcher is getting powers, and it shows him, killing somebody, and he's got blood all over him and everything else. And I told Brandon, I said, I don't think we're going to like Jensen very much in this one. He's definitely going to be one of the bad guys. So that's going to be, like I said, we have seen him that way before, but it's been a good 15 years since he's been anything other than Dean. So we'll see. I'm excited for both of these. I'm glad that he's branching out and doing everything that he wants to do right now. He wanted to do the Batman thing, and he's done it. He wanted to be involved in multiple projects, and he's doing it. So, woohoo! Go Jensen.
Okay, it's my turn, and for my news item, as of our recording, the newest Vanity Fair came out, and it's featuring the upcoming Star Wars series, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, season 3 of Mandalorian, and then Endor. I'm mispronouncing the name. I know I am. But anyway, in the article, there was an interview with Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm. And while talking about these new shows and all that, she went back and talked about the disappointment of Solo, the Star Wars movie that was featuring just Han Solo. And one of the things that she talked about that was a problem was, in her view, was the fact that, hey, we didn't have Harrison Ford. We cast someone else to be Han Solo, and that might have been a mistake. That might have been the problem. Needless to say, a lot of websites ran with this little tidbit of the interview, and there's been a lot of discussions regarding that. As someone who's seen the movie, he was not the problem. He was not the problem with the film. I liked the film. It was kind of a fun film. It had some issues, but it was a fun film. I think part of the problem was, one, it came literally 6 months after Last Jedi, which is one of the most controversial and less well-received Star Wars film in the history of the franchise. And for some strange reason, Lucasfilm pulled a Disney. There was actually no marketing or push for this film. I was having flashbacks of John Carter, where Disney did not promote John Carter, and hey, the film didn't do well. It's similar here, plus the fact that there was all the issues. You know, the directors were fired or they left. However, whatever side you want to take on that. And it was replaced with Ron Howard and came in. And so there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of issues everywhere. That being said, like I said, it was a fun film. And I don't agree with, well, you can't replace Harrison Ford if you're going to do Han Solo. I would say the same thing about Lando Calrissian, but nobody ever questioned when they announced Donald Glover would play Lando. Everybody's going, that's perfect. And then when you watch the movie, yeah, he kind of was. And there was the talk about, you know what, these iconic characters, you know, it's difficult for them to be replaced by the original actors and all that. And I'm going, hello, how many actors have played Captain Kirk? How many actors have played Spock? How many actors have played James Bond? I mean, my God, if the internet and all this had been going on in the late 60s and early 70s, when Connery says, I'm done, I want to move on. Would all it just I think she learned a wrong lesson with this, with that film. I think, you know, turning around and doing a de-age of the actors is not the answer. I think people can accept they didn't de-age Alec Guinness to have Obi-Wan in the prequels, and now in his own show they cast someone else. Now, yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi may not be as iconic as Han Solo, but still, it's the same principle. People can move on. Okay, it's not Harrison. It's someone else. It's okay. It happens. Am I wrong here, guys?
No, it does. I've said that before. I don't think that any character is sacred to one person, you know.
As much as cool as it was seeing a Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian and in Boba Fett, if it had been someone else with their own face, not Mark Hamill superimposed on there, I think people would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
Princess Leia Princess Leia, we're kind of a gray issue since she's no, but it still could be the same thing, because there's been other actresses that's played her on the animated series or whatever else.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think she learned that was not the downfall of Solo. And it seems kind of funny talking about being a downfall when it made a ton of money. It just didn't make Star Wars money.
Yeah.
You know, if it was another sci-fi film, anything other than tied to Star Wars, it would be considered a success. And hey, let's have more of this. My problem with Solo.
Maybe
Go ahead.
Lucasfilm needs to get used to making normal amounts of money on movies.
Right.
It could be. Who knows? You know, I don't know.
Trying to put lightning in a bottle.
Right. Not everything has to be the mega success that the first movie was.
Right. My problem with the film, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, my problem was it's like they had to incorporate everything Han had mentioned in the first trilogy. Okay, we had to see him meet Chewbacca. We had to see him meet Lando. We had to see them get the Millennium Falcon, and then Lando losing them to the card game. We had to see them do the Kessel Run. It's like, you know, y'all don't have to squeeze all of this in one film. Let's do something else than all that. That was what was kind of disappointing, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I've been trying to not say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I have not seen the movie. But is it possible that maybe the problem is that Han Solo is just not an interesting enough character to have his own movie?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, that is possible, because there is a reason why Harrison Ford never really wanted to do the character again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've mentioned it before. I don't know how many times. You know, in an interview with Barbara Walters several years ago, she asked him if he would go back, if he would play Han Solo again. He said no. She said, how about Indiana Jones? He said, in a second. She said, why? She said, why? He says, he's a more interesting character.
I could see that. There's more to him.
Han is, I mean, is two-dimensional pushing it, or is he one-dimensional character?
I mean,
Well,
I'm not even sure how likable a character he really is. I mean, he's got a little bit of charm, but he doesn't really use it all that well. I mean, he just mostly seems to be full of himself and...
Yeah. Well, they build him up to be a badass, but he's a supporting character.
Right. What did he ever do? I mean, he managed to use chewing gum and paper clips to stick the Falcon back together when it wasn't working.
Right.
Under pressure. And reasonable amount of piloting here and there. And really freaking good timing for a non-Jedi. But otherwise, he's more of an irritant than anything else.
Yeah. Well, he's good. He's a good supporting actor. And I don't know. I wouldn't say that Harrison Ford's ego is like Han's, but it's kind of weird for him to have that ego to only be a supporting actor. You know?
Especially that early in his career.
Yeah.
Right. He was never going to be the star of Episode 7, which was him accepting a role that he swore he'd never play again.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he accepted it so they'd finally kill him, so he didn't have to do that again.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying when it was first announced. Les will back me up on that. Right?
Yeah.
When they first announced he was coming back, I said, "Oh my God, they're going to kill him off." And then to make it even more obvious, the guy who may have only done the interview circuit for the previous films, all of a sudden is doing all this other stuff. It's so visible to promote this film. I'm like, he is getting paid buku bucks, and they're killing off the character, so it is a win-win for him. He just has to do this for a certain period of time, and then it's over. He doesn't have to answer that question again. Are you coming back to play Han Solo?
Yeah.
And he's thanking his lucky stars for it.
When you don't have the fans pushing you, there's nothing to push you to. You know?
No, I mean, it just wasn't just the fans. It just whenever anytime he did an interview. You know that question was going to come up, and he knew it too.
Yeah.
And, and you spend 30 years going, no, I don't want to play this character again. No, I don't want to play this character again. No, I don't want to play this fucking character again.
I'm done.
So.
Yeah, I don't want to play this character that literally made my career.
Yeah. Well, he did
I mean,
what he could.
He'd been there, done that. Let's move on. I've
learned.
I mean, it put him in the stratosphere, but I mean, the rest of his career kind of kept him up there.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some who just blast on the scene and then disappear just as quickly.
Yeah.
But I saw this and I'm just going, man, she's wrong on this. It's not because the actor's been replaced. There's other things, and the fact that she's making it clear that that's what she's thinking, it's not helping those who want her removed from Lucasfilm, which it's not going to happen. They just recently extended it. Let's extend her contract or whatever you want to call it. So she's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless they said, you know what, you're out here.
Unless the shows on that Vanity Fair cover all tank, which seems unlikely, really.
Well, I mean, we'll see, because I know there was a lot of people upset with the Boba Fett series, although we're not going to get into the talking of fandom because that's
Nope.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens with Obi-Wan. There's a lot of excitement for the show. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement for Ahsoka, and we'll just see what else happens, with the other shows.
Yep.
But it's a cool cover. I love the cover.
Looks nice.
Mm-hmm. So. All right. Any special mentions or shout-outs this week?
Nope.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay, we'll go on to our regular shout-outs then. Want to thank Pop Goes to Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Potter Family. They've been so kind as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links. The best way to check them out is to go to Twitter and do a search, #Potter and Family, all one word. Just scroll through. Whatever catches your eye, please click on that link and download that episode, and hope you have a good time listening to them. Thank you, guys, for your support. Want to thank Mary the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, there will be a link where you can check out their music. Thank you, guys, as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any kind of questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form that you can fill out there. On social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. I've already mentioned that we're on Twitter, @FellowshipGeeks. We're also on Instagram, @FellowshipGeeks as well. So feel free to follow us on any of those social media platforms. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would take a couple moments to rate and review us, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We do appreciate your support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,